Alright, well, if you've seen my last video game review, then you've seen me talk about Kirby Super Star for the Super Nintendo, and I was going over all the games that was included on it, how awesome the whole game was, and why it was one of my favorite Kirby games of all time. Now, it's time to review the remake for the Nintendo DS titled Kirby Super Star Ultra. It's basically the same game as Kirby Super Star, only this time, it's... We're gonna do a little review and comparison with this game and the original Super Nintendo version. So now, it's time to get the game out of the box, pop it into the Nintendo DS, and let's start it up. So, how different is this game compared to the Super Nintendo version? Well, first we have the cutscenes. Same cutscenes from the original Super Nintendo version, only this time, it's... The first thing you see when you start off Kirby Super Star Ultra is the opening sequence. I really like how they used the original Super Nintendo opening and remade it into 3D. Same goes for the other cutscenes throughout Kirby Super Star Ultra. They used the other 2D sprite cutscenes from the original Super Nintendo version and remade them with a new 3D environment. That's frickin' awesome. I would have to say my favorite 3D cutscenes that they remade throughout the whole game is the ones from Revenge of Meta Knight. First of all, just looking at the Super Nintendo cutscenes, you would wonder, how would it look in 3D? Well, see for yourself. Yeah, now that's awesome. I really like the cutscenes that they used throughout the whole game. So, enough about that, let's go over to the gameplay. They used the same games from the original Super Nintendo version, only this time, it's... The control scheme is different than the one on the Super Nintendo version. Of course, instead of hitting the B button to jump, you tap the A button, and of course, you use the B button to inhale. I've heard some people complain about the control scheme, but I personally don't have a problem with it either way. I think they decided to use the same control scheme that they used in the other Kirby games for the Nintendo DS. I don't know about you guys, but I personally find this Kirby game to be better than the other Kirby games released for the Nintendo DS, such as Kirby's Canvas Curse and Kirby's Squeak Squad. Those games are pretty good too, but this game just tops it all. The classic Super Nintendo remake being revamped as a Kirby game for the Nintendo DS. Now, I've already gone over all the games, all the main games that was included on there, on my Kirby Super Star review, so I'm not going to repeat it here, but I will name some things that was different between this game and the Super Nintendo version. One thing that's different is that they actually added music to the Spring Breeze title screen. In the original Super Nintendo version, it was just complete silence when you're at the Spring Breeze title screen, but in the DS version, they actually put music on it, which is, of course, the same music used in the title screen of Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy. Also, the ending to Spring Breeze is a little different. Kirby doesn't hold up a sign like he did in the original, but instead, he does his Kirby dance, and then it says, "To be continued." I think I know why it says "To be continued," but I'll go over that later. Even though the boss music is the same, they also added a new soundtrack to several of the bosses that you fight. Like in the fight with Dynablade, they used a brand new soundtrack. It's a more orchestral overtune of the Castle Lololo stage from Kirby's Dream Land. Last, in the Great Cave Offensive, when you hit the X button to bring up the treasure screen selection, you get to use the touchscreen to select an item, which is a more useful thing than just looking through the treasure with the control pad. Alright, well, with that said, it's time to go over the minigames. The first minigame on Kirby Super Star Ultra is Kirby's Card Swipe. In this game, you have a set of different cards with a different character on it. You wait to see what card they want you to select, but when it does come up, then you have to be quick, or else another player is going to take it. If you score, then you earn 1 point. The person to earn 3 points wins the game. Alright, now, next minigame is Kirby on the Draw. In this game, you use the touchscreen to shoot whatever target pops up. There's times when you got to reload your gun. To do that, you gotta tap the bottom of this touchscreen, which reloads your gun. Your accuracy has to be perfect when it comes to shooting these targets. because the other players are there to shoot targets as well. If you touch the green targets, then you earn extra points. Oh, and watch out for the bombs that might pop up, because if you touch those, then you will lose points. Alright now, so it's time to go over the last minigame, and this one is my personal favorite. It's called Snack Tracks. In this game, you have Kirby eating food that comes up on the tray. All you have to do is get rid of one of the wasps and bombs that appear on the tray. If Kirby eats the wasp or the bomb, then you will lose points. So you would have to use the touchscreen to get rid of the wasp or the bombs that appear on your tray, and have it move to another player. It seems easy, but then, uh-oh, it changes tracks. Now it speeds up a lot faster, so you really gotta be quick to get rid of whatever you need to get rid of. It's very fast-paced, but very fun to do. And these mini-games in Kirby Super Star Ultra are what I call mini-games. Well, now that I've gone over all the mini-games on Kirby Super Star Ultra, it's time to go over what's new on this game. Once you beat Milky Wishes, then you unlock the arena, which was also in Kirby Super Star, but you also unlock a new game titled Revenge of the King. Now, this game takes place after Spring Breeze, which I believe is also why they used to be continued on this version of Kirby Super Star. The plot to this game is similar to Revenge of Meta Knight, except this time, King Dedede is the one who is plotting his revenge against Kirby, after being defeated in Spring Breeze, that is. So now he is more ready than ever. So this game is pretty much a more challenging version of Spring Breeze. There's more enemies along the way, and the bosses that you fight is more challenging than how you fight them the first time. So after you beat Kracko, then you go straight to Mount Dedede Sky. You would think that you would go straight to King Dedede, but then something shoots you down. I wonder what that can be. Oh man, could it be? It is. Don't know who I'm talking about? Well, let's take a look at this clip from my Kirby Super Star review. But in Kirby's Dream Land, you fight a big blimp in Float Islands, which doesn't appear at all in Kirby Super Star. Well, guess what? He actually appears in this game. Yep, he appears as an enemy in Revenge of the King, with the given name Kabula. So it turns out that when you do fight Kabula in this game, he not only shoots out cannonballs, but he also shoots at you what appears to be bullet bills. You have a pretty good chance of beating them, and you use the starship that was used in Milky Way Wishes when you're fighting Nova. So pretty much just keep shooting from that machine, and you'll be able to beat Kabula. After you beat Revenge of the King, then you unlock Meta Nightmare Ultra. In this game, you're going through the whole entire game of Kirby Super Star, but this time with Meta Knight. Once you slash each enemy with your sword, then you collect these magical orbs which power up Meta Knight's sword. With it, you get to use 1 out of 4 of Meta Knight's special moves. First, there's the Night Call, which summons your sword helper, the Meta Quick, which makes you move faster, Heal, which restores your energy, and the Mach Tornado, which is a very powerful attack that'll defeat your enemies. So after you beat the arena, then you unlock from Helper to Hero, which is where you go through the arena, except you play as one of the helpers. After you beat that, then you unlock the True Arena. And this is where you fight all of the new bosses that appear in Kirby Super Star Ultra. Pretty much the bosses that appear in Revenge of the King, but also the new bosses that you would fight in the other new games featured on Kirby Super Star Ultra. Alright, so final verdict, Kirby Super Star Ultra receives a score of 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, I like it just as much as Kirby Super Star for the Super Nintendo, though I can't really say which one's better. It's like, Kirby Super Star for the Super Nintendo has a bigger nostalgia factor every time I play it these days. But if you're looking for something more,
if you've been playing Kirby Super Star for a long time, then I would pick it up. Or if you haven't played Kirby Super Star at all, then, you know, I would go for either one of them.